Hello, my name's Kevin. This is Dirty 20 Gaming, and this week I'm going to ask the question, how much should you share from behind your GM screen? Now, let me be clear, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm just going to talk about it a little bit because I don't have an answer. But here's why I started thinking about it in the first place. The more I watch other GMs run games, the more I realize that I do this a lot more than most other DMs. I blurt stuff out all the time. Stuff like, oh, I'm glad you guys talked your way out of that because if you'd have gotten in a fight, they'd have killed you stone dead. Or if you had said yes in that situation, or no, depending on the situation, if you had said yes in that situation, you'd be rolling up a new character right now. Or my favorite, my absolute all-time favorite thing to say in a game of D&D or any other role-playing game, I like your idea better than mine. Let's do that. So, whatever it is that I am blurting out, I do it a lot, and my GM screen, therefore, is leaky. If it was a boat, it would sink in seconds. There's a lot of holes in it. My players know a lot about what's going on in my head during the game. But the question is that a good thing? A bad thing? Or is it just a thing? Let's start with some of the possible negatives, and there are some for sure. The first one that comes to mind for me is some players, not all, but some players don't want to know what was behind that other door or down that other tunnel. They don't want to know what could have happened if they went the other way. It's TMI, it's too much information. So if they're telling you that, if you're hearing that, then choke it back and stop doing it. Second thing, it can lead to metagaming, which is almost always bad. And it can lead to something even worse than metagaming, something I hate having to do because it means I made a mistake. When I have to correct my players as to what their characters do and don't know, that's usually because I have overshared from behind the screen. So that is definitely a potential downside. Another one, there's two more, but these are kind of connected. It absolutely, categorically, no two ways about it, no questions asked, breaks the illusion. Some players think or want to think, and again, it's only some, that their DM has answers to every question and that they're 27 steps ahead of their players no matter which direction their players go in. And whether they're right or not, that's what some of them think. And the last thing they want you to do is open the curtain and show that the wizard that runs the show is just a bald old man sitting in front of a webcam making it up as he goes along. So if you see that look on their face, stop. This next one's connected. In the acting world, they always tell actors don't break the fourth wall. In other words, don't talk to the audience. Blurting stuff out like I do is a form of, I guess you'd call it breaking the ceiling between the GM and the players. And again, some of them, not all, some of them aren't going to like that. Some, not all, games run like a ship. I've used this metaphor before. They're sort of the captain and the crew, and they're separate. And if that's how your players want it, and that's how you want it, then by all means do it that way. And it will work, but don't overshare. Because if you overshare, you break that wall, you break that ceiling, and you have now a bunch of storytellers working together, which is not a bad thing. In fact, it's a good thing, which leads me to the following, which is the list of good things that I think offsets the negatives of oversharing. The big one for me is it lets players know what you're thinking and what you think is going on as a game master. And I know that sounds funny. It's your game. You should know what's going on. But on more than one occasion, I have said something and had the players go, no, you said, and they correct me. And that's excellent because I needed correcting because they're working on the information that I gave them. So it's nice sometimes to let them know where your head is at so they can correct you if you've gotten something wrong. It also lets the players know that you're serious. At the end of a combat, a real close fought combat, while they're still pouring healing potions down each other's throats, if you say, I thought I was going to have to kill you all, it clearly shows your players that you will pull the trigger. And if they make mistakes, you'll kill them. So it adds authenticity and hopefully slows your players down a little bit and brings them down off that weird, insurmountable high horse that so many parties tend to ride because their plot armor is shiny and new. Another one that's really important to me, I said earlier, my favorite sentence to say is, I like your idea better, let's do that. One of the reasons I say that is to give credit where credit is due. Some GMs, not all, but some, would just continue that scene like it was either their idea or that was their plan all along and this is how it was supposed to go. And I understand that from the DM point of view. Me personally, I think of us as a group of storytellers sitting around telling a story together. So if somebody has a better scene than I do, I want to do their scene. And I want to tell them that their scene was better than mine. It's just fair. It also, and connected to this, it lets your players know that you are invested in this game, as invested as they are, and that you care as much about this game as they do. At the end of, again, another close-fought combat, or even better, a deeply emotional scene that you've just played out with one or more of them, you stop the game for a second and say, I almost couldn't finish that because I was choking up. That can be a real bonding experience with your group. That can really bring you all, not just the people that were part of that scene, but all of you together. So I think that's a real positive to take from this as well. One other, to offset that sort of misty, sort of happy, smiley one, here's a real practical reason to do it. If you're streaming and your viewers are watching and you present your party with a choice, just door A or door B, and the party chooses door B, you got to know that some of your viewers were sitting at home going, pick door A, come on, pick door A. It's the obvious choice. It's the smart choice. Pick door A. And when your party chooses door B and walks through it, those people go, but I want to know what was behind the other door. So if you take a moment to tell them and your players what was behind that other door, it gives them the opportunity to become engaged because they can then sit at home and type in the chat, I told you you should have taken door A. Or alternately, the brave amongst them might type in something like, you were right, door B was the correct choice. My bad. And that can only happen if you tell everybody what was behind the other door. So I think we've pointed out enough. There's good things and bad things about sharing from behind the screen, and I don't think there's any surprise with that. There's always good things and bad things. But it is absolutely, positively, definitely something that I do. And I do it quite a bit. So what I've been working on is figuring out ways to do it with more narrative smoothness, if that makes sense, and with some class. To be honest, my good friend and a masterful DM, Puck, Lord of Chaos, and benevolent dungeon master of the Mercs of Mischief and Too Many Warlocks teams, uses cutscenes to set the tone, to give information to players without giving it to the characters, to spark emotional responses, to let players know that plots are unfolding, that time is running short, and that they are in this much deeper than they think. He does it so well that I stole it. Yup, Puck, I stole your bit. I started doing mini cutaway scenes as seen from the perspective of the NPC that the character just walked away from. And I'm going to do a lot more of them because they are an unbelievably effective way to let your players, not your characters, they don't need to know this, but your players and your viewers look into the minds of your NPCs and see what they're really thinking. I mean, your players do this with you every week, every time you play, every scene you play out. They do this. They tell you, they say, I do this in character. And then out of character, they say, oh, that was a tough decision because I had to think of this, and this. So this is just payback. This is just a way of showing them that your NPCs go through the same thought processes as you do. And I think that can really help. Sometimes I still blurt stuff out. I mean, I just do. But what I find now is it's depending more on the situation and on the player involved. I recently offered a player character a choice. I offered them near immortality, near infinite powers, and godlike abilities. The other option was stay here in this muddy little world and help your friends solve this problem. For those of you that are already going, I do this, I do that, I do this, no, those don't work. None of it works. This was an absolute choice he had to make. And the player agonized. I went away and did a scene with other people, and I came back to give him time to think. And he decided to stay for now. And I could feel and hear the tension in his voice when he answered me. And I could feel this vibe coming through the headphones. He was stressed the hell out by his choice. So at the end of the session, I said to him, let me be clear. If you had said, yes, make me a Time Lord, you'd be rolling a new character right now. That offer was, and will continue to be absolute and final. And he thanked me. To paraphrase, he said, I'm going to be able to sleep this week. So that was a good thing, and it only happened because I chose to share. There's one final case I want to talk about. This is a real special case. This is when your party understands something differently than what you wanted them to understand it. In other words, they've got something horribly wrong. You have to, at that point, figure out, was it them or was it you? If it was you, if it was because the way you explained something was open to interpretation and they made a different interpretation than the one you intended, or just the phrasing that you used, or just flat out how you said it made it feel more important or less important than it really was. And off they go on a tangent. Now, if it's part of the plot that they're supposed to be confused at this point, then fine, let them go. Or, if it's funny and you've got time to kill, let them go on a wild goose chase. It's part of role play gaming. But if the information is important and time sensitive, sometimes you have to decide whether it was the information that was confusing or if it was you. And if it was you, you need to, in my opinion, stop the game for a second and explain out of character exactly what you wanted them to take away from the experience. So you can say to them, actually, what that NPC was trying to get across was something like that. I think that's important to do. Okay, that's all the serious stuff aside. There's a whole bunch of reasons there, good reasons, bad reasons, indifferent reasons. There's one really humongous major reason that I do it. One reason I share from behind the screen more than most other GMs that I've seen. And it's because I don't want to be a DM and 4 players sitting around a table. I don't want to be a narrator and 5 players sitting in front of our webcams and gaming on an evening online. I want to be part of a group of storytellers, all equal and all telling the story together. And to do that, I think it's really important to share. Like I said before, your players share with you all the time. I do this, they say in character, and then after that they look at you and say, I hate you right now. We're still friends, but I hate you. You're having fun. You're having a great time. You're working together. You're all engaged. You're all telling the same story in the same direction at the same time. And everybody's sharing and having a great time. So with that, as always, thank you for watching and game creatively. Bye.